Hello and welcome back to Profile Shots. I'm your host, Landon Muonio, and today I'm here with Nick McGrane and Scott Spangler, and today we're talking about the Coen Brothers. So for my movie, I chose The Big Lebowski, and it's a movie about bowling.
For my film, I chose No Country for Old Men, which is a movie about Texas.
And I chose Hail Caesar, which is a movie about would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple?
Would that it were so simple.
Keep your head still. Would that it were so simple?
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
I'm trying to say that, Mr. Lawrence.
Lawrence,
Would it were?
Would that it were so simple.
So simple. Would it were so simple?
That might be my second favorite scene in the movie.
No. Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm saying exactly what you're saying, Mr. Lawrence.
I'm saying exactly what I'm saying.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Lawrence.
And then the punchline with him at
That
the end of the movie,
were
what
so
wings his
simple.
eagles.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think we should get into why you guys chose the movies that you did. I mean, you've had to have some history with them or some affinity, or think that they best represent the Coen Brothers. So I'm curious to see what your histories are.
I was originally going to do Ballad of Buster Scruggs for this when we first had the idea of Coen Brothers, but I decided against it because I thought it would be tough to talk about a film which is, so many stories like stitched into one. I thought it would be better to do one narrative. So I decided to do Hail Caesar because I had watched it most recently. Watched it for the first time almost a year ago, spring break. And I had remembered like seeing trailers for it way back when it came out in 2016. I would have been in middle school. And I really wanted to see it at the time. Like I really like the cast, and like stylistically is like I like the whole 1950s Hollywood thing. I was like, ooh, that looks pretty cool. Never got around to it. Finally got to see it, and I really liked it. I liked how it kind of like honors and parodies the golden age of Hollywood at the same time, which I think is great because what better way to like honor something than to make fun of it. And it's definitely something that is very easily made fun of, like the big outlandish movie sets with hundreds of thousands of extras, and like you kind of get into like these themes of these like historical things about like the Red Fear, and just overall like life in the 50s. It's very mockable from like a modern perspective. I think like the 50s culture. So I liked that about it. I really liked Josh Brolin's performance, and I really liked the dialogue about the film. I think was my favorite part about it. Like all these little themes that just kind of peek their heads out, but don't really ever take like a central part of the movie. Like these, there's just so many that like you could say is a major theme of the movie, or you could just say, nah, it doesn't matter. It's just good to watch. Like it's just an entertaining watch. It doesn't have a point. It's just, hey, look at, this cool story. You can kind of take it either way. And I think that's what's so great about it.
I was definitely surprised when you said Hail Caesar as your choice, because I had seen it and I was like, whatever. I didn't know it was a Coen Brothers movie at the time when I saw it.
Really?
Yeah. And then I was like, I had to rewatch it, for now. And I was like, I like this one a lot. I like Hail Caesar a lot. I like movie sets and stuff for like in the 50s. I think it's a good backdrop.
Yeah. I think it was also cool to do a movie about making movies. I think it's always cool to see that perspective. I love that sort of like behind the scenes stuff. I think it does a really neat job of like sort of honoring like the old technology. Then like I especially think of the scene where he goes into the editing booth and you get to see these old like film reel, I don't even know what they're called, but just these devices that like were used for editing. All that like analog technology that's totally lost to us now, like no one uses anymore. It's really cool to show that little piece of like history. I think it's an important thing to show, and I'm glad that they did show it.
From what I've seen, I have to confess that I have not seen the whole movie. unfortunately. But I've seen
Didn't do his homework.
I've seen scenes. I remember actually, like, for some reason I really remember the trailer as well. I don't know what we were doing in 2016.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that trailer. It must have been like the most captivating trailer.
It was
ever.
something about like George Clooney and Scarlett Johansson in it that really made it like, this must be a huge movie, you know. But I remember it just having a lot of energy. And one of the scenes that I've seen is the religious scene with the priests and the rabbi and the who else is in there? There's four. Right?
There's an Orthodox priest, a Catholic priest, a Protestant priest, and a rabbi.
Yeah, the three priests and a rabbi, I guess. That's like peak Coen Brothers. Like, it is perfect how they have like a commentary on something as massive as religion and putting it into like a conference room conversation about like this guy just trying to make money to make sure that he's not going to piss off any of the churches, and then like have them be physical representations of each of like the different styles of religion. Really funny. And I think that type of theme, or like that tone that you see in so many Coen Brothers movies, might come from, I think it's either, I forget who, one of the Coen Brothers. It is Ethan. Ethan has a PhD maybe, or at least a graduate degree in philosophy from Princeton University.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, it explains why like they bring up all those like topical and like weighty things that are happening in those time periods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's always like some deep philosophical conversation happening in a Coen Brothers. And I'm not saying that this scene in Hail Caesar was like the deepest of all of them, but like something like that, like questioning religion.
Yeah, well, it shows that,
or the communists arguing about a Das Kapital.
Yeah.
That's another like
just
who's
like
on first thing.
I think either of those scenes really show that like they know their stuff. Like, they know enough about the background to be able to make, like, to show these differing viewpoints and arguments. Like, they know enough of the theology to show why a Jew would disagree with an Orthodox patriarch, or why like subgroups within like, you know, pro-communist screenwriters might like disagree about certain aspects of Marxism or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know how the Coen Brothers do it all, but I kind of can imagine them just sitting around the writing table, like throwing out these crazy philosophical ideas at each other. But they're just like so educated and so good at screenwriting that they can take these crazy ideas and put them into these narratives. And I just think that's something very knowledgeable and something that I think is super impressive in a filmmaker, to be able to like bring that much professional type of, maybe not professional is not the right word, but thought out ideas and like huge arguments about the world and put them into like silly little stories like this. So
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about No Country for Old Men?
Sure.
Why'd you choose it?
Yeah, it is radically different than Hail Caesar and Big Lebowski for sure. But I heard that we were gonna do Coen Brothers, and I immediately thought either Big Lebowski or Brother, Where Art Thou, because those are the ones I've seen most recently, and I have always loved those films. But I really wanted to rewatch No Country for Old Men, and like literally the first scene, I started watching it again, and like I paused the movie and told you guys like I'm gonna do No Country for Old Men. Like from the very first scene, I remembered like how amazing this movie is. So it just like gripped me right away, which is for me in all the films I've seen, like I put a lot of stress on like the opening scene of a lot of movies. Like, what does it do to establish the story, or like establish a character, or throw you into something either with a bunch of information or no information? And this was like such a classic start to a Coen Brothers movie, where literally it just shows landscape shots of the desolate, like not, it was pretty desolate, but just like the hills and like barren land of Texas, as like Tommy Lee Jones in his thick Texan accent talks about like the history of sheriffs in his county. Like, it's perfect Coen Brothers. And then like seamlessly transitions into our main character as he murders someone on the side of the street. Like it's
Yep.
like very, very classic Coen Brothers. So I and actually, sorry, he doesn't murder someone right there. He does in like 5 minutes from then, but that's when he gets arrested, and then he murders the cop right after.
Yeah.
But I just was really gripped by this movie first from the cinematography, which is Roger Deakins, who actually shot all 3 of our movies, and a lot of the Coen Brothers movies, but also the like moving momentum of the story is just like infectious. It just like grabs you and never lets go. So I think it's a very good testament that they can do like hilarious movies that are straight up comedies, but then they can do like intense thrillers like this that still put in like comic relief and moments of humor and philosophy and all of these cool type of Coen Brothers things, but inside this like tense neo-Western, as we're calling it, film about like a cat and mouse type of game. So it's just something that it's a movie that I've always really loved from a filmmaking perspective and like aesthetically, but then the writing and the stories and the characters are really interesting as well. But then a few things that I noticed like this time around is that there's like no music the entire film.
Yeah, I think I didn't realize this about myself until I watched No Country for Old Men back. I think I watched it over the last winter break, not to date this video or anything, but I watched it over the last winter break, and then I realized how important scores are to me. Like in my opinion, for my enjoyment, it detracted from my enjoyment about it. It gave me critical distance from it, because I feel like movie scores are used to like amp up your emotions and really tell you exactly what's gonna happen. And for this, for No Country for Old Men, it was more unpredictable, I guess, for me. And I'll reserve my right to say that I like it, but I thought that it was more like, I don't know. I appreciate how good it is, but it doesn't like strike a chord with me specifically. And I think it's because of the score and how important scores are to me, I guess.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, because my experience with this film is I watched it for the first time around last year. I don't remember exactly when, but it was on a plane. And the first time I watched it, I was like, I didn't get it at all. I was like, why is this won so many Oscars? Why do people love this movie so much? I was like, I mean, it was good, like whatever. And then rewatching it for this, I can go into this more later, but this time I was like, oh shit, I get it. I like rewatching it, even right from that opening narration that like you're talking about, I was like, whoa. Yeah. I completely forgot about that opening narration, but it sets up the movie so well. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. I hate to divert too much, but I will just say a little bit. One other stylistic thing that I just picked up on, if I may.
Honestly, it's fine, because I was just going to ask you after Nick about what you liked about No Country for Old Men. So you could just keep going.
Okay,
you
cool.
Can just keep going.
Well, I just wanted to say really quickly, stylistically, another thing that I noticed is all 3 of these films have narration. They all open with narration from some really like good voices. Like you have Tommy Lee Jones in No Country for Old Men talking in that lovely like Texan drawl. Oh, I don't really like the Texan accent, but when Tommy Lee Jones does it, I really like the Texan accent. Yeah. Hail Caesar, you have Michael Gambon, may he rest in peace. Never actually shows up in the film like the other 2 narrators do, but he like throughout the film it sets up like the different scenes in a very eloquent like writing style that almost reminds me of like those old noir films.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that sort of verbiage. And then the Big Lebowski, you of course have Sam Elliott, that classic like deep voiced cowboy down like this talking about the dude. And I wish I could do like even a tenth of as good of an impression of him, but
All that power comes from his mustache.
yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Yeah,
I don't have
that's why.
I have a weak little thing going. I gotta shave soon, but maybe someday I can have a mustache like Sam Elliott and talk like that in that beautiful, beautiful voice. Oh, I want his voice to lull me into sleep when I'm on my deathbed.
The last thing you hear before you die is Sam Elliott.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
yeah. But yeah, No Country for Old Men. And going back to that, I completely have changed my mind about it. Like, I really do like it. I really see its artistic value a lot more, even without a score. And that is a tough thing to come to terms with. But like, I think I see now how it actually serves the film rather than detracts from it, and sets up that environment more a little bit. I don't know if you want to talk about that right now or later, but
Yeah, the whole no score thing, I also have like a huge love for film scores and think that they do so much to enhance a film, but stripping it away is, I think, like the perfect decision for this kind of movie. Because with a setting like rural Texas, just kind of shows how like mundane and barren the lifestyle and the setting is. Like, so I like how unpredictable it is because you don't have music subconsciously, or maybe for us, we're consciously listening for it, but kind of subconsciously telling you where it's going to go. Like, for example, Tommy Lee Jones goes back to the hotel after Llewellyn is murdered, and Anton Chigurh is in the room, and we just get this through shots and no sound at all, just like maybe a little hiss of like the air conditioner or something like that, or like when he opens the lock and stuff like that. But you're getting no music, so you're not getting that little like riser knowing that like something's gonna pop up in 5 seconds because the sound is telling me that. Like you're just sitting there like even more tense because you have no idea the time frame things are gonna happen, and anything could go one way or the other at any point. And then like anytime it cuts to a new scene, you're like, you get your breath back and you're like, oh, okay, now we're here. Like, you don't have music to tell you that at all. So I really enjoy how there's like virtually there is no music until 40 minutes into the movie. Like, I took note of that this time. And it's the first real music is a mariachi band playing over Josh Brolin.
That's the dang.
So he goes all the way to Mexico and he's like bleeding out
It's like
on the
late
street.
in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. 40 minutes into the movie before we get any music. And sorry, so the 40 minutes in is like a very, very slight kind of transitional piece of music.
Okay.
And then the first real music later into the movie is the mariachi band. Gotcha. But yeah, they don't need music to tell this narrative because the cinematography is so amazing and the script is so amazing that you see it and you hear it through their voices and through what's happening on screen. You don't need that extra piece of music, which I think a lot of films 100% need music, but this is such a good story and told so well that it doesn't even need music.
Yeah. You don't get that Hans Zimmer like electric violin to like cue you as like, oh my gosh, someone's gonna die right now.
Yeah.
You have it's completely unpredictable, and I think that's from a benefit of having no score. You mentioned like the hiss, like the air conditioner, the gun sounds are really, really good. The silencers going off, fantastic. It adds like a thud to every single thing, and you're like, like they have to. Usually there'd be like a time skip of, oh, he went to the hospital and then got the bullet out, and then in this one he's got to dig the bullet out. You're gonna bleed out on the street, right? It's everything is so impactful, and I think that's for these two movies too. Less Hail Caesar because there's not. I don't think
there's like no violence.
There's like no violence at all, right?
No one dies.
Yeah,
I don't think anyway.
Lame. So lame.
Yeah. Well, Jesus, I guess, gets nailed on the cross, but he's just an actor.
Yeah. He doesn't get a hot box lunch or whatever. But then, like with Big Lebowski, you get, well, since it's from the 90s, you get more like practical effects with like the ear getting ripped off or anything. But it's a lot less. I don't know. It's no gunshots or anything.
It's also done in a more comedic way. Like they make a big deal of his ear getting ripped off, and there's like a whole shot of it flying in the air. Donnie's death is like a complete like I was laughing the whole time. Like
When he
Donnie
had
was
his heart
dying of a heart attack when they were at the mortuary, when they scatter the ashes and
Oh,
it
that's
flies back in their
fantastic
face. Like
scene.
I was chuckling the whole time. It was so funny. Yeah, it's great. But my opinion about the music in No Country for Old Men, I think you said that it doesn't need it. I would argue that it's better without it.
True.
You could have had it and it would have been just as good, but I think or maybe not just like it's I think it's better without it. I think it builds that tension. You're talking about the gunshots, like it makes the lack of music in the scene where he's getting chased through the streets by Anton Chigurh with the silenced shotgun. Every time that gun goes off, it startles you. Because like I think if there was music there, it wouldn't as much because it would heighten your senses more with the music. Without that, you like get lured into a sense of calm even for just a second, even if he's like running away, but you hear that thud of that shot hitting the wall or something. It's like, whoa, wakes you back up, or that weird like zippy sound it makes. It's such a brilliant sound.
When he's getting shot at in the car and he has to like duck down and you hear every like whiz.
It's
and
so
like
intense.
It's hitting each pane of glass and you get that like shatter. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It really makes you appreciate like all the non-musical sounds in the movie, all the Foley in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall, I just really enjoyed this film because of the way it's shot. As I keep saying, like Roger Deakins is a genius, and all the shots are like incredibly intuitive, and their movement is so beautiful. And often also when there's like a reverse shot over the shoulder, usually between two, you'll kind of find like a slow track in, which is a classic. Kind of like Christopher Nolan uses this as well in a lot of his films to kind of build tension and build kind of, I guess, substance or like a sense of like grandeur and just like overall significance in a conversation. But it'll be like a simple talk at a cafe between the two sheriffs, but the camera will always slowly be going in, like building and building. So I think that's a beautiful technique that is seen throughout it that really keeps me into it. And then just overall the screenplay with how the characters talk to each other. Woody Harrelson comes in for like 15 minutes before he's killed, but he's like, he just brings a little spice into it and like has such creative script attached to his character. And then of course the second that he runs into Anton, boom, he's done. But it's such an unpredictable film, but beautiful film to aesthetically. And I just really enjoy the style of storytelling that the Coen brothers bring to this one. It was right up my alley.
I love the Big Lebowski.
How can you not?
I had seen way back when I was little, like maybe like 10 or 11, I would see it on Amazon Prime, and I was like, oh, it's a really weird movie. I don't know what it's about, because I'd see this poster, right, with the rug and the glasses, and I wouldn't know what it was, right? I was like, I think I confused this movie and The Revenant, just because they both have no. This isn't another Tron Legacy thing. It's
they
just
came
because
out like 15 years apart.
No, because of the poster. Because Revenant has,
I guess,
DiCaprio. It's all in grayscale with his beard with like white, like covered in snow and stuff. And I would mix it up with the Big Lebowski.
I can't
That's
say
wild.
I was under 15. My brain was not as developed as it is now. I obviously don't mix up the Revenant and Big Lebowski now.
I mean, subconsciously, you could say that the No Country for Old Men poster we got up here looks like the Band of Brothers poster. It's similar
that's
lighting.
true.
You know, he's up on a precipice.
There's certain things that just go into
I think
making
it
a
makes
movie
sense.
poster. Yeah.
Relax, Nick.
No, I'm agreeing with you that there's just tropes that people have. Yeah.
Yeah,
Continue.
The blue and then the orange movie posters, like Aladdin and The Force Awakens. You've seen those? They look exactly the same.
Yes,
I think they did it for Dune. It's like, find something
Catches
new.
your eye.
It does. Anyways, I love the Big Lebowski. So I'd see it on the Prime catalog when I was younger, and then my sophomore year I saw it for a film class, Luke Mancuso's film studies class. I was like, this is wait a minute. That was the third time that I'd seen it. Because I saw it. Somebody had recommended it to me end of my freshman year, and then I watched it. and I was blown away. I was like, this is gonna be my personality for the next a couple of months. And I felt such an affinity with the dude and with music, just because I love music so much, and I like the use of Bob Dylan and CCR and the Eagles. It's
a great soundtrack.
It really, really captures me. Like whenever a movie has officially licensed songs, I have to look them up and after I'm done, and I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. That's going on my Spotify playlist. But those are the reasons why I really liked it when I first saw it. And then I watched it for the film class, and then I was like, oh, there's so much subtext in this movie, right? With like Vietnam, there's a lot with religion and death and money, is like I mentioned. And they talk about nihilism and philosophy and stuff.
Dude,
and music.
Say what you will about the tenets of National Socialism. At least it's a fucking ethos, man.
Exactly.
That's my favorite line in the whole movie.
It's
I watched
so
it with
good.
my brother. We were like, we had to pause the movie because we were laughing so hard about that.
There's a lot of really, really good quotes.
It's
so
hilarious
quotable.
Yeah.
because he converted to Judaism. It makes him sound even worse when he says it. Yeah, we could. Oh, yeah. Anyways, so I rewatched it again for this, and I'm like, it's one of my comfort movies, honestly. Like this is it gives me such a warm and cozy feeling. Honestly,
It's that rug,
like,
man.
It's the rug.
Just
it
ties
really
the whole
ties
thing together.
And we don't have the rug right now.
We
which
should
is
have put
ironic.
the rug out for this.
Yeah,
That
but you
ugly
couldn't.
old
I don't know
thing.
if you could see it if you
think-
cut to camera 2. Yeah, you can't see the rug. The rug wouldn't have done it. It would not have tied the room together.
Damn.
Yeah. Anyways,
Put the rug on screen.
yeah, I'll put a little cap,
Just a little
thing of
PNG.
the PNG of the rug.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this movie though. I like the way it's shot. I like the acting. I think the script is it's almost airtight. Like I can't find a lot of flaws with this movie, and I think that's why it's in my top 4 of my favorite movies of all time. Obviously, I'll like switch it up, but it's my top 4 currently. I'm interested to see or to hear what you guys have to think about Big Lebowski. You want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the Big Lebowski. I remember watching it when I was a little younger, probably like high school, and I was a little like frustrated with how like little was happening, but that's because I was pretty
didn't get it.
impatient. Yeah, and just like wanted something significant to happen instead of just these guys talking at a bowling alley and then cutting to something wild and they're back at the bowling alley. And I was just like, the logic didn't quite make sense to me. But like as I rewatch it now, I really enjoy just the overall humor that goes into it and like the tone that it has, delivering such crazy dialogue, but also having like that classic sitcom type of situation of like two teams that don't like each other at a bowling alley, you know? So I really enjoy the wacky characters. I think John Goodman's performance is like one of the best comedic performances I've seen. It's so good. Like he just brings such good delivery to all of his lines, and like just
laughing
he
just
has
thinking about it.
he has such a distinct
good.
like right now we're all just like smiling just thinking about his character because it's just like the aesthetic of it and the overall just attitude that this guy has and the crazy things that come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And then juxtapose him with the dude. It's really great screenwriting and character development. So I always have enjoyed the characters in the film a lot. Yeah. And then it kind of just takes you on this crazy journey, which we've already touched on several times, but taking a very simple situation and group of people and then just putting them in this buck wild chase or taking them down this whole escapade centered around some stolen money or some stolen person or something, like, you know. It's just a overall really fun and classic film now, as it's probably just turned like 25. It's a classic. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I love this movie. It makes me laugh my ass off. I first saw it I think it was the summer after my freshman year of college. So I'm a little late to the game. Yeah, I had gone bowling with some friends, and one of my friends was like quoting the movie the entire time. I was like, what is this? So she required that we go back to her house after the bowling and watch this movie. And it was like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Apparently it was like her dad's like favorite movie period. So, yeah. And, that was I'd only watched it that one time, and then I got to rewatch it doing this, and it was just an absolute joy. So yeah, a lot of the same stuff that you're saying, like the dialogue is so great. Like it's very different from No Country for Old Men, whereas like I touched on this earlier with you today when we were just briefly talking about, filming this. Like No Country for Old Men is, the characters will say like one sentence and it'll mean so much. It'll have so much meaning. Whereas the Big Lebowski, you'll have Jeff Bridges' character and John Goodman's character just arguing for like 2 minutes straight, and nothing is like achieved for the viewer.
Yeah.
They learn nothing from it. You just watch two guys argue, but it's great. Like it's so entertaining. There's something so amazing about just like watching two humans bicker. And this movie does a great job at making it funny. And then even more than that, like a lot of thematic things I just really like about this film. I like the whole clash of ideologies between like the dude and John Goodman's character,
I'm calmer than you are,
and the Big Lebowski himself and his daughter, and the nihilists. Like you just have all these. It's like a clash of ideologies, which I think is hilarious. And the visuals. One of my favorite parts of this movie is the gutter balls like trip sequence when he gets drugged, and is like has these like fever dreams about bowling and women, and it's like a drug trip sequence, but it's like nothing's animated. It's all like filmed. I think that was really cool.
It's an
I
homage.
want to see more of that.
It's an homage to a Looney Tunes.
Really?
Yeah. We learned about that in my film class.
That's cool.
That I took.
Interesting.
But it's like the Bugs Bunny. He's courting Elmer Fudd in like a Valkyrie thing.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
Valkyrie. Bugs Bunny's in the Valkyrie thing, and then Elmer Fudd is courting him, and then there's it's a big Fantasia sequence.
I think I have seen that.
You've seen that one? Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
that's
that
what the
shot
gutter
where
balls
he's
thing
like
is.
holding. Yeah, and I think that one of the posters for the movie is that shot of her dressed up like the Valkyrie, and he's like guiding the bowling ball down the alleyway. But yeah, I love that scene. Like it's amazing to me that it was all like, it's not animated. It's all props. It's all real actors. I'm sure there's like some digital after stuff they did, but it looks like it's just crazy to do a fever dream sequence like that, all with like physical things.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
So do we want to each pick a scene from the movie that we chose that we think is like our favorite, and maybe the most emblematic of their style?
Sure.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then should we go right to left again?
Whatever you think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta think about mine.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I had to think about it. Do you have one?
I do.
Okay. You'll say yours, and then we'll keep thinking about
Yeah.
ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. So for No Country for Old Men, I think probably, I can call it my favorite, I guess. I mean, if I rewatch, maybe I'll come up with another. But one that always sticks out is when Anton Chigurh is at the gas station and he does his first coin flip scene. So he comes across the person working there and is so mysterious and has this crazy conversation where basically he'll be getting straight to the point and asking these hard-hitting questions. I love it, like, you live here? Like, how long have you lived here? And then he makes him call a coin without telling him what's at stake. He's like, what are we flipping on? He's like, everything. Because, like, he's literally going to kill him if he gets it wrong. He doesn't know that, but, like, in the mind of Anton Chigurh, this is just how he operates. He's just like, call the coin. And
He
there's
expects
just
him to like know what he's calling it for.
he
Yeah,
gets frustrated with
interesting.
people when they don't understand his view of life, which is absurd, obviously. But it is such a tense scene in such an unassuming location, and what it's just, it feels so significant, because in any other movie it would be just such a boring normal conversation between two people, you know. I've always kind of seen that one as standing out as kind of if you're going to watch one scene from the movie that would really understand the vibe of it. But there's an absence of all music, and I think what's really cool is you hear the whole time they're talking, he's eating like some peanuts, and then he crinkles it up and like puts down the wrapper, and you can like hear the like the expanding of the wrapper, and it's just like so tense and like puts a shiver down your spine. And this like harmless Texan is just trying to do his work, making friendly conversation with this person, and it's very, very tense and shot so beautifully, and the timing of the script is so beautiful as well. They're back and forth, and like how they don't fully understand each other and get themselves in these circles in their conversation. And it's one of those scenes, like once it finally switches off the scene, like you can breathe again, because it's just like, it's so tense. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's probably my favorite scene. Yeah.
I think I wish I knew his name, but that actor that plays that old man,
Yeah.
like, oh, he does not get enough credit
Exactly,
for
yeah.
portraying that like fear.
Huge
that,
shout
like,
out to that guy.
that building of that fear, where he starts out as just like totally innocent gas station worker, and then he's like suspicious of him, and then he gradually gets more and more and more unsettled.
Mm-hmm.
He does such a great job of contribute. Like, he contributes to that scene so well.
Shout out Gene Jones.
Gene Jones.
Wow.
You rocked
for
it.
playing
You
gas station proprietor.
Proprietor.
Gas
Yeah.
station proprietor.
Yeah, you can
Oscar
cut
for
that
you.
out, but that's a classic. Yeah, that's
It's
a good
great.
scene.
I'd have to agree. That's
Yeah.
absolute banger of a scene.
And it's so funny what you were saying about it being like so mundane, is that it's so true. I remember before I had even seen this movie, I watched that scene on YouTube. It had like a bajillion views, like just that scene. I was like, I had known how acclaimed this movie was. And I watched the scene. I was like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, out of context, it is so boring. You don't get it at all. Like, you obviously you can get the emotion of like the old man. You see he's nervous, but you don't get why, like, at all, without knowing who Anton Segura is. And mainly, I was just focusing on how weird Javier Bardem's haircut was. But you know, once you have that context, once you see how that one scene contributes to the rest of the film as a whole, it's like, ooh, baby, it's great. The lighting too is so amazing, because it is such a like terrifying scene, yet it's so brightly lit, and it makes it seem like so innocent.
Yeah,
you know,
daylight.
and he's talking about like, I gotta close
crazy,
soon. When do you close? Around dark. It's not dark at all. It is like high noon, and that's like, it's great.
Classic.
Indubitably.
Well, I have mine.
Oh, am I going next? Are we going down the line?
Yeah. Do you want to do yours?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I think for me, the scene that stands out the most to me, oh man, I'm trying to pick between, like, it's probably got to be the scene near the end of the film after Baird Whitlock returns to the studio, and he's talking with Eddie Mannix. I think I called him Eddie Maddox earlier. I apologize for that. It's definitely Eddie Mannix. Anyway, he's talking with Eddie about his kidnapping, and while he was away getting kidnapped, like, he learns all these communist ideals, right? And he's explaining these to Eddie, and he's like talking about Das Kapital and how the film industry is serving the capitalist system by like spreading pro-capitalist stories and giving everything a function and like maintaining societal values. And like he's going on and on and on about this. And then Eddie Mannix, Josh Brolin's character, picks up Baird Whitlock, George Clooney, and slaps the shit out of him. And he's like, I don't want to hear any of this ever again, blah, 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 blah. And then the line that I love so much is he says to him, you're going to go out there and you're going to finish Hail Caesar. You're going to give that speech at the base at the feet of the penitent thief. And you're going to put your heart and soul into it because that's what you do. And you're an actor and acting is what you do. And you're going to be a good actor because the picture has value and you have value when you serve the picture. And it's like, whoa, like complete, like it's just, and Baird is like, he's such a naive guy. He's just like shocked and he's like, okay, I'll do exactly what you say because you hit me. Like so impressionable. And, you know, he gets completely swayed into communism after spending a day with the communists, and then he gets completely swayed away from that opinion after he gets slapped across the face a couple of times by like any figure of authority he just bends to. And I think it's so great. And then he goes out and gives that speech, and this is kind of outside the scene, but that scene, the speech he gives is talking about like Jesus seeing others as equals, how he gave water to a Roman just as he gave water to the slaves. And it's like, oh, are we getting on some like communist ideology that still lives on in him? Maybe not. But then he like completely forgets his line. It's like, oh, it all disrupted. And it's like, oh, well, shit. Coen Brothers classic of just nothing happening.
You can't remember the word faith.
Right.
Which is, he has no faith to either.
Right. Yeah. But it's just so brilliant. I love how it just like, that scene, I think, encapsulates the whole movie in demonstrating how like nothing really happens. Like no character grows. Baird doesn't grow because he doesn't really accept either ideology. Mannix doesn't like grow as a character because he stays working for the movie company. You know, you could say from a communist perspective, he's performing his function. You could say from a capitalist perspective or like from a religious perspective that he's doing good work, that he's doing God's work by managing all these people and doing a tough job and whatever. I could go on and on and on about it, but I just think that dialogue is what really makes that scene. It's so great. And I just love that line of the picture has value and you have value when you serve the picture. Just like that complete, you know, subscription to that ideology is hilarious to me. Very 50s. Very, very 50s. Yeah.
I have my personal favorite scene from The Big Lebowski, but then also what I think is actually the best scene or best collection of scenes. My personal favorite scene is when he gets punched by Maud's goons, and then you've got the man in me as he like flies on like like through Los Angeles. That is iconic to me. I love that so much. My actual favorite scene is when he's meeting the Big Lebowski for the first time, and everything is just super crisp, especially when he comes back. Yeah. He's like, mind if I smoke a J? Or fantastic. Anyways, he's trying to get his rug back, and he's the Big Lebowski's like, do you think that every time anyone pisses on a rug in Los Angeles, I have to reimburse them for it? It's fantastic. And then he goes to talk to Bunny, and then you got the Chekhov's gun of like her feet, right? And then you got the Chekhov's gun. You get the nihilists, the setup for the nihilists, right? The guy in the swimming pool.
Is he one of the nihilists?
He's one of the nihilists. Yeah.
I never.
Yeah, she's like.
I mean, I guess I've only watched it twice.
He doesn't believe in anything.
He's a nihilist.
Oh my god, that totally went over my head. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with you. That scene, I think it shows the characters, and it gives such great characterization to a lot of those ideologies. Yeah. Especially the dude and the Big Lebowski himself. The dude is just sitting there like the whole time. All he cares about is the rug. Like. That's all he's interested in. He's just kind of sitting there, like, you know, doing whatever, saying whatever he has to say, listening to whatever he has to listen to from the Big Lebowski to get his rug back. And then the Big Lebowski is so entitled. And it's so funny. I love, like, that line about I need to give everyone a rug that gets pissed on in Los Angeles or whatever. And then when he starts calling the dude a bum after he finds out he has no job, and he gives this whole, like, tirade about the bums are destroying society, and like I'm so successful, look at how happy I am, I'm so successful. He's like saying how happy and great his life is when he's like all shaken and visibly like, you know, not very happy looking. And then throughout the rest of the film, like he's never made happy, you know, by like his wealth or anything, whereas the dude is just like, he abides, you know, he just goes with the flow, and he's like totally at peace with everything. He just takes the rug in the end. says that like
Yeah.
lies off and says he can take it, whatever.
He said he could take any, that I could have any rug in the
Right,
place or whatever.
right.
Yeah.
And then yeah, as you said, with the nihilists and Bunny like showing off sort of their ideologies is great as well. That was something I didn't really pick up on, so thank you for illuminating that for me. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that scene too, and I think Philip Seymour Hoffman as Brandt is like,
Yeah.
I think he has such an amazing performance. So
Philip Seymour Hoffman is a very underrated actor.
Fantastic actor.
it's and massive depth as well. Like he usually plays more serious roles, but he's so funny in this as like
Yeah.
the absolute just a people pleaser all around. So like just
Lebowski pleaser.
wants everyone
Yeah,
to
yeah.
everyone to get along.
He's
and,
in the
and
limo
don't do
with
any,
him
yeah.
in the middle of the movie. Like he doesn't need to be
yeah.
there, but he's supporting him.
And he's like
Yeah.
repeating his lines
Yeah,
too, which
yeah.
I think is
So
funny.
We're very disappointed.
Yeah. Whenever like as you brought up that scene, like right away, I remember how impressed I was with his performance. Yeah.
So I think we're basically done talking about the Coen Brothers and not their entire filmography, but the
Some
three that we
highlights.
think best highlight their style.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically it. That's all for Profile Shots Director's Cut. We'll see you in the next episode.